Bad Boys, Bad Boys 2. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? I guess make a below average game for it on PS2 in 2004. During a time when the third-person shooter genre was rapidly evolving, the early 2000s witnessed a surge of innovation in this space, with games like Max Payne, 2001, putting this style of game on the map, and Operation Winback from 1999 laying down early groundwork for cover-based shooting mechanics, which would later be popularized by titles like Gears of War, 2006. However, Bad Boys 2, released 1 year after Max Payne 2, failed to capitalize on the advancements in the genre, delivering a lackluster experience that struggled to meet the standards of the time.
You know what happened to Kuni?
Bad Boys 2 Inches was developed by Blitz Games, a British studio known for its work on licensed titles. Founded in 1990 by twin brothers Philip and Andrew Oliver, the studio had carved out a niche for itself by creating games based on popular movies and TV shows. Blitz Games was responsible for a range of titles, from The Fairly OddParents to Lilo and Stitch, but their portfolio was largely a mixed bag in terms of quality, as to be expected from licensed titles.
The studio's approach to game development was often dictated by tight deadlines and limited budgets, a common challenge for companies producing licensed games. This pressure likely contributed to the numerous shortcomings of Bad Boys 2. Given the success of third-person shooters at the time, it's plausible that Operation Winback, with its cover-based shooting mechanics, influenced Blitz Games' design choices. However, the execution in Bad Boys 2 fell far short of its inspirations.
What the hell?
The game is an adaptation of the 2003 film Bad Boys 2, starring Will Smith and Martin Lawrence as Miami detectives Mike Laurie and Marcus Burnett. The movie was a high-octane, over-the-top action film, and the game's developers attempted to capture that energy in their adaptation. Their results were less than stellar.
Oh, God damn it! I got a bullet in my ass!
Not something you want to be bragging about, Marcus!
One of the most glaring issues was the portrayal of the two main characters. The game featured cringe-worthy voice work, with neither character sounding remotely like their real-life counterparts. Instead of bringing the iconic duo to life, the voice acting felt forced and unnatural, lacking the humor and spontaneity that made Smith and Lawrence's performances so memorable. To make matters worse, the character models looked nothing like the actors, instead resembling a bizarre, almost grotesque amalgamation of each of their features. This uncanny valley effect made it difficult for players to connect with the characters, further detracting from the game's immersion.
Hey, get your ass back here, Marcus! Marcus!
When it comes to gameplay, Bad Boys 2 falls into many of the pitfalls that plagued third-person shooters of the time that did not have the words Max Payne in the title. The shooting mechanics, for instance, were poorly implemented. The cover system, soon to be a staple of the genre, was frustratingly limited. Players could only take cover behind specific parts of the environment, which often felt arbitrary and restrictive. This lack of fluidity in the cover system made combat feel clunky and outdated, even by 2004 standards.
Aiming was another significant issue. The controls were stiff and cumbersome, making it difficult to accurately target enemies. While the game does include a zoom option, it provided little relief, as the reticle remained awkward to control. This lack of precision in aiming was exacerbated by the game's sluggish controls, leading to a frustrating experience for players.
The enemy AI was also woefully underdeveloped. Bitch basic at best, the enemies in Bad Boys 2 could only duck and shoot, showing little to no tactical awareness. They rarely switched cover or attempted to flank the player, making encounters feel repetitive and unchallenging. To compensate for their lack of intelligence, The developers made the enemies bullet sponges, requiring an excessive number of shots to take down. This design choice not only slowed the pace of combat, but also penalized players for having good accuracy, as enemies would barely react to being shot, often returning fire before going down.
Adding to the players' frustration was the game's insistence on completing very annoying thresholds to unlock content. These thresholds often involve tedious tasks, such as shooting enemy guns to disarm them, a finicky process due to the tiny weapon hitboxes. The player could easily kill the enemy by accident while trying to disarm them, making the task more frustrating than rewarding. Also, collecting evidence within the game's drab and poorly lit environments was another chore. The levels were often underlit, making it difficult to spot items and further diminishing the game's already limited visual appeal.
Another questionable design choice was the emphasis on minimizing property damage by avoiding shooting destructible assets. It was never clear if this contributed to the end-of-level score, leaving players uncertain about the impact of their actions. This lack of clarity, combined with the game's overall lack of polish, made it difficult to care about the objectives beyond simply finishing the level.
As if the core gameplay wasn't disappointing enough, the rewards for completing these frustrating tasks were equally underwhelming. The game offered a selection of unlockables, such as uninspired cheats and boring target range missions, none of which provided a compelling incentive to persevere through the game's many flaws. The only cheat code of any real value was the one that unlocked everything from the start, allowing players to skip the tedious grind and experience all the content without the associated frustration.
Despite its many shortcomings, Bad Boys 2 managed to deliver some commendable elements. The game featured a diverse range of locations, including gritty back alleys, arcades, art galleries, and dock warehouses. Each environment had a unique character, contributing to the game's overall atmosphere.
One of the standout features was the replication of a memorable visual from the movie. The motivated lighting technique used in a scene where bullet holes perforate wood and blackouts in an abandoned mansion turned drug lab. This effect, which brought in pinpoint rays of sunlight, was effectively recreated in the game, showcasing Blitz Games Studios' attention to detail. The destructible elements within each level also added a degree of realism and interactivity, enhancing the overall experience.
What the hell kind of gun is this?
The hell's the matter with you now?
Real men's guns go boom. This thing just goes.
Relax, Mike. It happens to everybody.
In conclusion, Bad Boys 2 for the PlayStation 2 was a missed opportunity. Released at a time when the third-person shooter genre was evolving rapidly, the game failed to live up to the standards set by its contemporaries. The company structure of Blitz Games, coupled with the short deadlines common with movie tie-ins, likely contributed to its many shortcomings. It's not like Bad Boys 2 is broken at the very foundations. It's just that there wasn't enough time to develop its potentially interesting ideas. Despite attempts to be faithful to the source material, the game fell flat in almost every aspect, from the awkward character models and cringe-inducing voice work to the poorly implemented shooting mechanics and frustrating design choices. The end result was a game that not only failed to capture the essence of the Bad Boys franchise but also failed to deliver a satisfying gaming experience. For fans of the movie and the genre alike, Bad Boys 2 was a disappointment that is best remembered as a relic of an era when licensed games were often, and also often struggled to hit the mark.